It's like every single year that MLW will come out with a preseason power rankings, which I mean, like, fair enough. They definitely can do that. I'm not saying Kyle can't run his league the way he wants to. I feel like every season there's a problem with these that needs to be discussed because, like, what I'm looking at right now is fairly inaccurate, disrespectful to some teams, giving teams way too much credit, and it just does not line up based on what we saw last year. Like, there's a lot of things that I'm going to break down in this video. And guys, welcome back to the AJ Plays channel. Today I'm discussing why the power ranking system in MLW is somewhat broken. Pretty much that. There's not much more to say other than that, and I think we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up this time. So, I'm going to start at number 8. The Great Lakes Gators. Based on this draft, they did not have this draft selection, and last year they missed the playoffs. Obviously, I feel like 8 is discrediting them quite a bit, even though they are a solid team. It's discrediting them, but they are the worst out of all 8 teams right now. I will say that. Okay, you got one right because the Gators, they're last anyways. That's the way this is supposed to be. Between 6 and 7, now I got problems, okay? I was thinking about this earlier when I knew that I was going to record this, and I'm thinking, why can I argue the Wildcats being below the Magic here? And it's pretty freaking simple. So last year, you saw the power ranking. Mallards were 5th, and the Preds, they were 8th, okay? The Mallards had a terrible season. And they got one player, Jordan Robles, to come in and completely revamp their team. That's the exact same thing with the Magic this year, except instead of one, they have 2. Grant Miller and RJ Walgate. Obviously, but I think combined, they'll add up to the talent that Jordan Robles has, maybe a bit less. However, the impact is still there. 2 players replacing a half of your lineup this year is greater than replacing the 1/3 that was replaced last year for the Midwest Mallards. Technically, the Magic had a better offseason and they recovered in a much better way than the Mallards did. Meanwhile, the Western Wildcats and Pacific Predators. You can go ahead and say that the Pacific Predators missed in 2021. Okay, fair enough. You put them at the bottom of the list. However, no. I'm sorry. You can say it's biased. You can say whatever you want about the Wildcats. This team, based on what happened after the draft, I don't think they belong at 6. If anything, they belong at 7, okay? They're not 8th. They're not the worst. They belong at 7th, okay? Here's why. So I'm gonna compare the 2021 Predators to the 2022 Wildcats. Let's not count the Wildcats' record against the Magic and the Gators because both teams were garbage, okay? 4 and 7. Including the playoffs, 4 and 7. They got swept by the Preds in the playoffs. They barely beat the D-backs on opening day, but the other 2 series they lost 2-1. The Preds and Wildcats had very similar situations. Their guys were relatively inconsistent all throughout the season. They couldn't come up clutch in the big moments that they had to come up clutch. And no exact changes were really made to both teams other than adding Liam Jackson to the Wildcats, which you can argue is equal to Mac Hawley, the Preds acquirement last year. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So if you're going to say that the Preds had the worst offseason, or just say that they're the worst team on paper last season, then you got to also put the Wildcats, I think, below the Magic, because they have a very similar situation to what the Preds did heading into 2022. I just don't think, I probably think that the Wildcats are going to be the team that misses the playoffs based on what the Magic ended up doing to add Miller, Walgate, and Ackerman. Because honestly, we don't know much about Ackerman. However, Baranowski praises the guy. I'll give him that. The Wildcats being above the Magic, I'm sorry, this isn't me being biased here. You can argue whatever you want about how the Magic got their draft picks and how they ended up getting their guys and competitive ballot. You could say whatever you want. That's not my problem. I'm looking at the teams right now. I'm looking at the patterns of the last few years' power rankings. Jordan Robles and the Grant Miller RJ Walgate have a very similar impact to their teams. Mallards shot all the way up to 5th. Magic only shot up to 7th. The Preds, inconsistent, lacked the clutch bat, and did not do well in their 2021 season, ranked at the bottom. Same thing with the Wildcats in 2022, but they're ranked at 6. Could someone tell me where the logic is in that? That's my honest opinion. It's a very hot take, and this channel's full of a lot of hot takes. But why are they at 6? Why are the Wildcats should be 7? The Eagles are being so unbelievably disrespected right now. It's unbelievable. Why are the Eagles 5th? Why are they 5th? They have 2 ace caliber pitchers on their team. They have 3 all-star hitters. They have Urgitis, Walker, or, well, make that Urgitis squared because there's 2 of them now. I'm being dead honest. These guys are a top 2 team in the league. Their best player is now in the greatest shape of his life. He lost 70 pounds over the offseason. How are the Eagles 5th? How are they 5th? This doesn't make any sense to me. Now, the Preds at 4, I can very much respect the Preds at 4. I'd even put them at 3. I'm being dead honest with you. I'd still have them at 3. Because, okay, if you remember, you're looking back at my video a few months ago where I did my pretty much the pre-draft power rankings. Okay, I had the Magic last. I had the Cobras up top. Okay, we'll get to the Diamondbacks in a minute because this is getting ridiculous. However, the Cobras and the Preds, very similar situations. However, I feel like the Cobras have a lot more raw wiffle ball talent compared to the Predators. However, still, my top 3 in order is Cobras, Eagles, Preds. That's my top 3 in that order, okay? Preds at 4, I still feel like it's too low. I think they do truly belong in the number 3 position, okay? I'm going to give, like, they have the MVP on their team. They have the home run derby. Like, they just, okay, dude, they have Ryan Crouch, who just had a fantastic 2022 campaign that I feel like went unnoticed a little bit. And by the end, when it actually came time to start considering voting, then we finally gave Crouch his credit. The Cobras at 3. Yes, you did lose the World Series, but Jimmy Norp was on a different level, and the Cobras are going to have no changes really made to their team because they don't have to really adapt to a 4-man lineup this season, because you're going to look at it and they already have Davis and Sean Flynn. Andy Durant is no longer playing football. He's healthy. Then you got Brendan Baranowski and Sawyer Bean. They're both going to be on the mound, and they both shut it down the stretch last season, other than the World Series. They struggled a little bit, but that's fine. You have an off day. They played all the games on one day, that you have an off day. It just so happened to be the World Series. Still think the Cobras have one of the better, if not one of the best team in MLW. I think they're number 1. I really think they are. Number 2, the Midwest Mallards. Jordan Robles and Tommy Coughlin. Yeah, I'm going to give them their props 100%. They're good in a 1-2 punch. Pitching wise, you really don't know who's going to be the number 2 pitcher behind Robles. Could it be the kid Preston Colm, who I still think he's going to be pretty solid in MLW? Did he maybe go a little bit too high? Sure, that could be the case. However, Preston Colm should still look pretty solid. What's your 4th bat looking like? Caden Irwin? Ben Wilson? B. Deasy, for all we know. Like, we don't know exactly. The Mallards have too many question marks to be number 2. Yes, you got Jordan Robles, but that's 1/4 of your lineup and 1/2 of your pitching tandem. He can't do absolutely everything for you. So, them at 2, I like the confidence in the Mallards, but they're a team that's not in my top 3. If they're 4. They're 4. I think they're the 4th best in MLW, okay? Finally, I have a big issue with this. Diamondbacks at number 1. The way that we just give the number 1 team automatically to the World Series champion of the last year makes 0 sense to me, okay? Because you're going to look at the D-backs roster strength. Their draft pick is somebody who is relatively unknown, and he already might be ruled out for the very first series. Their number 4 batter in the lineup is going to be a massive question mark, because we don't know if Trey Flood or Casey Bennett will be getting that spot, and we don't know the potential they exactly have. Michael Shima and Jonah Heath just struggled all throughout the season last year, but they got hot during the playoffs because they barely made it in. And then Jimmy Norp, he got hot on the mound during the playoffs. He struggled very mightily in that first half last year. I don't understand why the Diamondbacks of all teams, as much as they won the World Series, roster structure, rule changes, adaptations. That's what I look at for the power rankings for the upcoming season. Diamondbacks don't beat the Mallards, Cobras, Preds, or Eagles. Diamondbacks are 5. The Diamondbacks are 5 on my list. These could be considered hot takes on my end, but I'm telling you, sometimes this power ranking system is relatively dumb and it's starting to agitate me a little bit, okay? Diamondbacks, you are a good team. You're not one of the best. You're not in my top 4 teams. I'll tell you that much. You're not in my top 4 teams. Based on your roster strength, how well you could probably adapt to the new rule changes in MLW, I don't think you're a top 4 team. You're 5th. You're 5th at best, okay? You're not beating out Robles and the Mallards, Davis and Co. on the Cobras, Crouch the MVP and the Preds, and one of the most loaded rosters I think is being severely underrated in the Eagles. You're not beating any of those. And as for the bottom, like the Wildcats and Magic, it's like you can't discredit guys like Kyle Schultz and Nick Saylor. However, based on what we saw last year, putting the Preds with a team of like Cratch and Warda and Russell at 8, and the Mallards who got 1 life vest to save them, and Jordan Robles, and you put them at 5, this makes no sense to me. The Mallard, like by that same logic, the Magic need to be above the Wildcats for this to make any sense, okay? That is all the beef I have with this. The power ranking system, I just don't like it that much. Anyways, my little rant is done for today. So on that same note, I want to thank you guys all very much for watching this video. I want to hear all of your opinions. Please give me, in order, based on the rule changes, the draft, transactions teams have made, and their roster structure. Tell me your top 8 teams in order from best to worst in the comment section down below. I'm really interested to know your opinion. On that note, thank you guys so much for watching. I gotta go to work now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna see you guys all next time. Peace out, y'all.